What is up, everybody? This is Lyle, No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. Just wanted to stop by for a quick video. You know, I had a comment on a video I did a while back, and they were like, man, there's got to be something you don't like about Prime. Why don't you do a video about that? So, you know, I'm up for a good challenge. I had to think about it a while. Now, I'm going to be nitpicking on some of this stuff, but I wanted to come up with at least 5 things. Maybe I could come up with some more if I really thought about it, but I actually did put about 30 minutes of thought into these 5 things. So let's get into 5 things that I don't like about Prime. Okay, first of all, these damn Qualcomm Omnitracks, whatever you want to call it, I still can't believe that a trucking company, you know, at this magnitude is still operating on this Simple Simon 1996 type of equipment. I mean, literally, if you guys that are watching this that aren't truck drivers, I know I got a couple aunts that watch this, plus a couple people that aren't into truck driving. Listen, us using this system that we use for communication, navigation, things like that, would be the equivalent to somebody walking up to you rocking a BlackBerry phone or something like that. That is about as old as this technology is. Now, luckily, we have a great phone app that you're able to do a lot of this stuff on. But as far as hours of service, things like that, sometimes the screen will be freezing or it'll be going back and forth between screens when you're trying to change your duty status, stuff like that. This technology right here does not match the level that this company is at. So that is one thing that I absolutely can't stand. And that's more of a Qualcomm Omnitracks thing than it is actual Prime thing. I'm just throwing it in because Prime is operating on this system. Like I said, back in the day, this was probably some great technology, just like Blackberries, but I haven't seen anybody rocking a Blackberry in a long time, even the newer model Blackberry. So that is one thing I don't like about Prime. I'm gonna save the next one for the last one. Going inbound and outbound at terminals. That is one thing that I don't like about Prime. Now, sometimes you'll get lucky and be able to ease in, maybe ease out, something like that. But you know what? You could be done driving a 10-hour shift, 9-hour shift, whatever it is, show up at the terminal, and then take another 40, 45 minutes or even an hour to go through the terminal. Now, they are doing valuable stuff when you go through there, so I'm not going to hate on them for that. Like I said, I'm going to be nitpicking here. But sometimes when you're done driving, that's the last thing you want to be doing is coming through inbound with the load or a load you're dropping off, whatever. Outbound could be the same thing. If I have a load that's going to drop near Springfield, I am not coming to the yard if I arrive a day early to go drop that load off. And the reason is, and this could be at any terminal, Salt Lake City, Pittston, Springfield. The reason why is it's unpredictable. So let's say that you have delivery, you want to stop at the terminal, and then you have to plan, okay, well, I got to get there the next morning. And then you got to factor in, well, it could take me, 30, 40 minutes to get through outbound. So now it's kind of hard to judge when you want to leave. And you end up usually leaving earlier than you had to leave because you're not always going to wait. All right, so inbound, outbound, those waits, stuff like that. Now, I will say that they do a good job when you go through inbound and outbound. Like I said, I'm nitpicking. So that's number 2. I think that's number 2. Yeah, number 2. The third thing is going to be hold times. Now, this could be hold times calling your dispatcher. It could be calling, doing your live load calls. It could be, if you have a claim on your load, especially if you're messing with that stuff at night. That could be a while on hold right there. So if they could tighten up some of these hold times, especially during off hours, that would be appreciated. But definitely some of them hold times can be, luckily a lot of times when I'm making these calls, especially if I'm just calling to talk to my fleet manager, I could be driving and just kind of, I ain't got nothing but time on my hand. But if it's like a claim or something like that, some of these places you just can't sit there on the shipper, well, basically the receiver's lot, and wait for all this stuff to go through. You know what I'm saying? Then they'll say, okay, well, don't leave until we figure out what you're going to do. Well, it's not always that simple, but hold times, definitely hold times is on that list. All right. Fourth thing. Like I said, I am nitpicking here, okay? More terminals. Now, Prime has the best terminals out there, all that stuff. Definitely not gonna hate on the terminals, and if you're at a terminal for an extended period of time like I am, you're definitely happy that we have the amenities that we have. But for the most part, you're not gonna be messing around with terminals. Everybody talks about how nice Prime's terminals are and all that kind of stuff. Well, the people that benefit from the terminal are the in-house employees. You know what I'm saying? So if you happen to be an in-house employee and you want to go knock out the gym at lunchtime or do whatever, that I look at the amenities at the terminal for the in-house staff, not necessarily the drivers, or at least they're the ones that are mainly taken advantage of. What I would prefer is maybe less amenities, but more terminals. And maybe not even like terminals even to this degree. Even if you're with Prime, you've been to the Denver terminal. Even just terminals like that, where it's just like, actually, I don't even really need a shower and all that kind of stuff. But, if you just had a terminal that was like, maybe you had a shower, 2 showers, something like that, maybe some supplies, parking, that's really what I would want, is the parking. And I talked to some people that work at some of these off-brand companies, and they got terminals everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not talking about like Knight and Swift. I'm talking about off-brand companies like Variant and who else do I talk to that has terminals everywhere? Let's just stick with Variant for now, since that's on my mind. More terminals, more places to park. That would be something else that I don't like about Prime. Like I said, I'm nitpicking because I don't have a problem hitting, I'm a truck stop. I don't like I don't have a problem parking at a truck stop. But it would be nice to have terminals. And if anybody's watching this from Prime, let me know if that Manuka, Illinois terminal is up and running. That's going to be a great terminal and a great location. That is good. All right. Last thing, and like I said, I'm nitpicking. It's not that big of a deal. But these slow-ass trucks, damn. I mean, everybody's crushing us now. I mean, all the other companies that used to be, governed at like 65 miles an hour and all that stuff, all these guys are smoking us now. Swift, Stevens, CRST, CR England, any of these little companies that used to be 65 miles an hour are just Crete, are just killing us right now. I think the only trucking company that even TMC, those guys used to be a reliable pass. You know what I'm saying? If you saw them on the road, you were just like, all right, let me just get over in the left lane, pass this up right quick. But got these ashy knuckles like I'm about to get into a kung fu fight. But yeah, even TMC, and they were like reliably slow. I think the only company right now that I can look at and say, okay, if they're in front of me, I know I can get around, is Raider Express. That might be the only one out there right now. And then you take that and combine it with some of these lease guys out here driving 55 and 58. Anyway, let's just talk about the 65. 65 is just a little too conservative for some parts of the country. Not that I would be doing it all the time, but actually, 65 is a good cruising speed. I have no problem with that. But can I get some pass action going on? You know what I'm saying? even then. So maybe if we could bump it up to 67, 68, you know, something like that. Yeah, that is another thing that I would possibly change. And you know, one of the misconceptions I keep hearing is the amount of time that Prime gives you on these loads. I could think of several loads that I wouldn't have been able to do going any slower. So if you were a company truck, you weren't making that delivery on time. There was a delivery that I had like maybe about this time last winter, going from northeast Maryland down to somewhere in West Virginia. I think it was West Virginia. It was either West Virginia or Pennsylvania. And I had to run that bad boy 65 like the entire way. And I got there like 7 minutes to spare. There was another time that I was picking up a load that it was a tight load. You know, Lyle, do you think you could make it? All this kind of stuff. I'm like, man, it's tight. I don't know. It was going from New Jersey, kind of like more of the farm area of New Jersey, going up to, it was a FedEx. Some of you guys have picked up at that place. It's one of those little places where they do the little boxes and stuff like that, the little food boxes. Picked it up there, went up to Connecticut, and I was running that load as fast and as hard as I could. Ended up making the appointment time by about 30 minutes, and people, you know, they were wondering if they needed to push out that delivery time. But my 14-hour clock, I pulled into the gate and got parked at that FedEx with 4 minutes left on my 70-hour clock. So there's just times when you need to be running, well, not need to, because obviously if you needed to, nothing's a necessity, but there's just times when you would rather drive a little bit faster. And I could think of a lot of times when I'm ready to find a place to park and I know it's right around that, you know, time when truck stops are getting full. It'd be a little bit better if I could be, you know, 10, 15 miles ahead of where I am to kind of slide in there. So and some, you know, peer pressure, man. Sometimes just driving that slow, especially if there's a bunch of trucks stacking up behind you and everything. And, you know, I do try to do the good thing. I try not to sit out there and if people are passing me. And that's another thing. At least govern us to be at the bottom end of where some of these other trucks are. So we could either stay ahead of them to where they're just like, okay, let me chill behind them. But now we got Crete or somebody like that, and we're going 65. And I don't know if they're governed at 66 or 67, but then they try to pass you. And then it's like, you know, at some point you gotta slow down just so you're not being that dick over there, you know, holding up all kinds of traffic and let that person go by just a few more miles an hour. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'd need or want. But that would be my fifth thing that I don't like about Prime. Like I said, I'm all about the ink, as my man Willie the Million Mile Man would say. Go check out his channel. Just type in Million Mile Man Prime if you haven't seen him. And I am all about the ink. Couldn't be happier. But if you're gonna have me nitpick some things and stuff like that, then those are 5 things that if I could change right now at Prime would be things that I would change at Prime. Let me go back through my list to see which of those I would, if I could only choose one, which one would it be? All right, so we got the Qualcomm, slow ass trucks, more terminals, inbound, outbound speed, and hold times on the phone. I'm not sure I could pick one thing out of that. I mean, if I had to choose, as much as these trucks be some slow ass trucks, that's not going to be the one. The Qualcomm, as irritating as it is, that's tough. That's still not gonna be the one. The whole times, I kind of got, climatized to that situation. So the inbound and outbound, that's not super huge. More terminals. If I could choose one thing on this list to have more of, or one thing that I would say that I would change if I could, would be having more terminals throughout the country. And I know we have some drop yards and stuff like that. One of the things about the drop yards, they really don't, you can go on the app and find them, but sometimes you're in places where you don't even know to look for them. But I'm talking about like real terminals people know about, and I'm not. Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna say more terminals. Just basic terminals. Anyway, that's it. Forced me to make that video. Well, you didn't force me, but I figured I had to get to it so nobody was thinking that I was just, I am drinking the Kool-Aid. That Kool-Aid is delicious. But just want to let everybody know that, there are some things that I would change about this if I was going to be nitpicking something. Anyway, that's about it. I'd like to thank you guys for stopping by No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. As always, I appreciate it. Comment, subscribe, and I'm out.